Welcome everyone to Midwest Child Care Annual Center Training. We are just about ready to start here. If anybody has any questions during this training, if you could put them in the chat box, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes because it looks like there's still a lot of people that need to get into the webinar. So just hang tight and we'll be right back with you. To those of you that have just joined, we're just waiting a bit because it looks like a lot of participants have not gotten into the webinar yet. And I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to hear everything from the beginning. So we'll wait just a couple more minutes and then we'll get everything going. Thank you. Just me again. Just wanted to let you know we're still waiting for a few more people to join. Just so you know, my name is Janet Herzog. I'm the Executive Director here with Midwest Child Care. Thanks so much for everybody taking out some time of your day. I know you're super busy, but we need to do this annual training. It's a mandatory part of the USDA federal requirements. So I think as people are joining, we'll go ahead. There's quite a few that have joined. We're going to go ahead and get things rolling. So the first thing I wanted to do was to go over your agenda. And the first thing I'd like to do is welcome all of you for one thing. Really appreciate you being here. I want to introduce who's going to be speaking with you today. Again, my name is Janet. There's going to be Joni Mingler. She's the Center Program Director. We'll also have Lacey Drews, who's a field monitor. And the newest member of our center staff is Carrie Hertz, and she's also a field monitor. So the next thing I wanted to do is just kind of go through your agenda. We're going to go through what's in your packet so that you guys will know what all you need to look at in the packet that you received in the mail. If you didn't receive a packet, please let us know by putting something in the chat box and we'll mail you out a new one. Then Joni is going to talk to you about income eligibility and enrollment forms. Lacey will speak to you about menu production records and processed food reminders. Carrie will talk to you about menu receipts and labor sheets. Lacey is going to discuss the infant production and infant documentation form. She's also going to talk about the KidKare program and how you can access that and use that a little bit better. I'm going to speak to vendor contracts and procurement. Then we're going to have a section that Lacey's going to speak about that's super important, that it's how your center is losing money. And I think that you guys will really find that very interesting. I'm going to speak to the seriously deficient and what it means, and then we'll have some closing and important reminders. I do want to remind everyone that we will know, I know we're tricky here, but we'll know if you guys don't participate for the whole webinar, and you have to do that in order to get credit. You will also have to complete the quiz that you see in the attachment in your chat, and you can email those back to me. My email address is on the quiz, so you can send it directly to me. It's at jherzog@midwestchildcare.org. So without further ado, I think we'll get everything going. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is what's in your packet. The IEF, or income eligibility form, is to be used starting July 1st. There's an English and a Spanish version. Those are your hard copies, the ones that you should make copies from. They should have your name at the top, your center's name, and then the little strawberry is to let us know that they're for the new year. So that's why the strawberry's on there. That should make it easy for you to know too. There's a parent letter that should always be given to the parents with the income eligibility forms. There's infant menus, both in English and Spanish. There's the meal pattern chart that should be on display wherever your food is being prepared. You should also have the civil rights poster displayed prominently where everyone can see it. There's a milk substitution list that's new, whole grain handout, see and label handout, cereal and yogurt information. The WIC approved list is in there. The Building Bright Futures flyer, please hang that where parents and staff can view it as well. Then there's links to KidKare, and the food buying guide handout is also enclosed in your packet. And so without further ado, I will have Joni Mengler speak to the enrollment and income eligibility forms.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk about the new income eligibility form with the bright red strawberry on it. You'll want to make sure you do not start using that until July 1st. We've had a few trickle in the office this month, and those have been addressed. So they'll either need to redo them or just have the child start effective July 1st. For your larger families, with more than 5 children, you'll want to make sure you use that addendum. Please don't try to squeeze in names below those 5 lines. So the addendum is also included in your packet. And you'll also need that addendum if there are more than 4 additional family members. We need to know, you want to make sure that the family includes all of their family members so we can determine your eligibility form accurately. And then, as Janet said, you'll also need to distribute the instruction sheet and the income chart so they can determine if they're going to be eligible or not. You'll also find an infant formula selection and solid foods form. Try to get in the habit of sending those forms in with your new babies. Any infant that you're enrolling under 12 months, the form should be included with their enrollment form. And if you have questions about that, Lacey's she'll be discussing this a little later on. So you'll want to make sure that the name of your formula that your center offers is on the form, and then if the parent accepts or declines. When parents enroll foster children, there's only 2 sections they need to complete. Most of you are really good about marking the first circle, number 1, as a foster child. but a lot of them are forgetting to put their name where circle number 2 is. So we need the child's name. Any personal use income that they receive would be listed in that section. Or, you know, if there's no income at all, they can check 0 income. And foster children are claimed at the highest reimbursement rate, regardless if they have any personal use income or not. If you could give your enrollment form just a quick review before sending it in, it could save you a lot of time and money, because as you all know, when we have incomplete forms, we usually send you an email or we'll call you and ask for additional information. So if you can give it a quick scan to make sure they've completed the income section, they've included their social security number. If they're on SNAP or TANF, you want to make sure a case number is listed, and the parent needs to sign the form as well. So making sure that income section is complete can make a big difference in your reimbursement amount. You'll want to get the child entered in CX right away. So that date of enrollment in CX is the first day that you begin claiming meals for the child. And you do deserve to be reimbursed right from the start, so don't lose money on those first few meals. A lot of people will wait for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because they're sending the form home with the parent, but you'll want to get that turned in to us as soon as you can to begin claiming. If you need to do updates to their schedule, you'll just use their current enrollment form. You don't need to use the brand new 2021-22 form. You can use their current enrollment form, have parent make changes to the schedule, excuse me, then they'll need to initial and date next to the updated information. They don't need to update their income at that time. They should only update their income if it is decreased. A new enrollment form is needed for any income updates. We do have annual enrollment renewals. So each year, you'll have to renew all the children in your center. And if you could wait for the email, we'll always send you an email around the first of the month to let you know if that's your renewal month. So anybody renewing now for July will use the brand new form. You'll have a whole month to collect new forms from the parents, so don't feel rushed. We let you know around the first of the month. And then if you could have them completed and sent into the office by the end of the month, that'd be perfectly fine. Even if children start care the month prior, say if you start somebody in June and your renewal month is July, you'll still need to renew them because they're only good for 1 year. So they would expire before your next renewal month started. And it could change depending on the number of centers that we sponsor here at Midwest. The number fluctuates a little bit, so sometimes we have to shift centers around. It won't be too much. It might be a month or two earlier than what you're used to. So occasionally, just so you're aware, they do change. And renewals should be sent in with your mid-month or end-of-month paperwork. We really would prefer you didn't fax or email them because there's so many. So if you could just stick them in with your paperwork, that would work just fine. There's 3 different categories of meals: free, reduced, and paid. So if you have any families on SNAP, they'll all qualify for that higher reimbursement rate. Title 20, Medicaid, and WIC are not qualifying programs. So you'll want to encourage these parents to complete the income section. Typically, if they qualify for Title 20, they'll probably qualify for a free or reduced rate as well. And then parents do have the option to refuse if they're over the income guidelines. And you'll want to make sure you get those enrollment forms into us before the end of the month. So you can fax them. We listed our fax number here on the screen. You can email them directly to me, and I have my email address up here. You can mail them. It does take a little longer through the mail, but when you mail your end of month paperwork, you might consider using priority mail, just because it'll get here a lot faster. And we have a few centers that are that are coming in late, and it's not because you're mailing them late, it's just because the mail takes so long to get here sometimes. So you consider priority mail. It's going to cost a few dollars more, but it might be worth it for you if you can't afford to miss a reimbursement that month. We have different types of milk here that will require a parent to fill out a meal accommodation form. So that would be like soy milk, Lactaid. If it's medically necessary for the child to have it, then the center will need to supply it. And the same with almond milk. If a child is on whole milk over age 2, then you'll also need a medical statement from a physician stating that's what the child needs. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box and I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, and next up will be Lacey Drews.
Okay. Menu production reminders. Sugar content. Some of us have gotten pretty lax on this one. You'll still need to document the sugars on your yogurts and cereals. You want to put in the serving size / sugars per serving. That information is on the nutrition facts on the box or bag. Menu changes. If you decide to serve something else after you've already printed your menus, first make sure you write in any changes you've made. Just cross out the food you didn't serve and write in the one that you substituted. This becomes particularly important when we do our menu receipt audits. Then after that, you need to go in and change NCX to the correct food that was served in the computer. Again, so important when we're doing our menu receipt audits. Extra documentation. If you serve extra items, like food is donated, anything like that, or you just want to clarify anything, just write it in and always make sure you are offering a full serving of milk to each child. Milk needs served when their plates are given to them, not after they're done eating, not before. Plate and milk get served at the same time. And make sure your 1-year-olds are getting whole milk and 2 and up are getting either 1% or skim. Processed food requirements. Time for new CN labels, yay! Companies alter ingredients and recipes regularly based on whatever's cheaper to purchase. So CN labels and product formulation statements are known to change. This is time of the year to replace all those. You also need labels for your processed food, you only need labels for your processed foods, your whole grains, your cereals, and yogurts. Your current labels that you have, do not throw those away. Go ahead and store those with your previous year IEFs. And make sure these labels are clear and easy for us to read. And just remember, the more organized your labels are, the faster we can get out of your center during our reviews. Oh, did I go the wrong way? I did. Okay. Processed food requirements. A lot of times when I go into your center and I say, can I see your chicken nugget label? I get handed a Tyson bag of chicken nuggets. That's not a chicken. That's not right. The bag of chicken nuggets or bag of fish sticks or a box of corn dog nuggets are not what I need. You know, I can't read the nutrition facts or the ingredients and determine how much is meat and how much is grain. That information is only available on the CN label or product formulation statement. CN labels, that's going to be on the box. If it does not have a CN label on the box, then you need to call the little 1-800 number on the box or bag. There's always a spot that says, like, for questions or comments, please call. Call that number and request the product formulation statement for that product. You'll probably need to give them the UPC and stuff, and they can email it to you. You can also do this from the company's website. Just look for the questions or comments section. Do not serve processed foods until this label is in your hand. 1, you need to have that information to document on your production records. And 2, you wouldn't know how much to serve. Not all chicken nuggets are created equally. Some are 5 of them equal 2 ounces. Some of them are 20 of them equal 2 ounces. That's why you need to know this information before you serve it. Okay, so speaking of documenting on the menu production records, this is what it should look like. Over in that special notes section, we put in the brand, the chicken thyme. 5 of those nuggets, as you see on that CN label there, 5 of the 0.69 ounce fully cooked breaded nuggets equal 2 ounces. You don't have to put in the 0.69 ounces. You don't have to put any of that in, really. I know it's in that example, but if you just put 5 equals 2 ounces, I know what that means. 2 ounces of meat, I should clarify. Next, how we were talking earlier about that sugar content that we've gotten behind on it. Just a reminder on how you document for your cereals and your yogurts. If choosing cold cereal that meets sugar requirements, if that's the one you're putting in because it's not either Cheerios or Kix or one of those, make sure you list the type of cereal. And again, not all Cheerios are created equal. There's honey nut, chocolate, peanut butter, all of these. As far as I know, for Cheerios, it's just the plain ones and the multigrain that meet these sugar requirements. So really be mindful. We always suggest like taking a picture of the little sugar chart, putting it on your phone if you're the one doing the grocery shopping. So if there's ever any confusion when you're in that grocery aisle, you can just pop open that picture and you can check it right there based on that nutrition facts information that's on the box. This is a new one. Look at that graphic. The fat percentage of ground beef needs documented. This is a brand new one. And the reason why it needs documented, it needs documented is because, okay, some of you probably buy the 80-20 and some of you buy 93-7. Some of you might buy 70-30. Obviously, there's a different amount of meat in each one of those to fat. Like, is it, is a lot more of a fat like with the 30, the 70-30, or is hardly any? So that's why we need to know that information. So you'll just write that in that special notes section. You're just going to put 80-20 ground beef. That's all I need. Go ahead and you probably will need to save. I'm saying save a label, but I can feel hesitation about saving ground beef labels. Take a picture of it. I'm fine if you take a picture of it because obviously you don't want to save ground beef labels because that's gross. Cheese. Be sure to serve real cheese. General rule, if it's individually wrapped, it's not creditable. The Kraft Deli Deluxe and those types that are in the really big long packages are perfectly fine to serve. They are a pasteurized processed cheese. Processed cheese is okay. The problem comes with when it's imitation cheese or cheese product. Those are the no-goes. And keep in mind that we look at your receipts, and if we see those are purchased, if we see Kraft singles on there or Velveeta singles, if we see that on your receipts and we see you're serving grilled cheeses, the grilled cheese is probably good. That meal you're probably going to lose just because we're not seeing that proper cheese. Yeah. Okay. See how it says the pasteurized prepared cheese product right there? That's a no. Don't do that. But here we have natural cheese. So this one, yeah, this is more of what you want to purchase. Or like I said, those big long blocks, they come pre-sliced so you don't have to slice them. But I think they've got like a little piece of wax paper or something in between each one of them. Those are more of what you need to serve when you're serving American cheese. Processed meats. They do need a CN label. Read the, generally speaking, read the ingredients. If these additives like soy protein, modified food starch, whey protein, those kind of things are in the ingredients, if they're after where it says less than 2%, just keep the label. Just keep the package of your lunch meat. If those are before that line where it says contains less than 2%, like if that's above that, those fillers and modifiers, then you would need to get a CN label or product formulation statements. And if you have any questions on processed meats, any of the foods that you're serving, feel free, take a picture of the ingredients list. Let us know what the product is in case we need to do additional research, do some Googling, whatever we need to do. But take a picture of the ingredients list, send it to us, and we can tell you if it's creditable, what additional documentation you might need, all of that. Grains. Please document all your grains and ounces. I know the menu production records show slices and servings, but don't do that. We need weights. If you're making pancakes or muffins, that sort of stuff for the homemade items, weigh one on your little scales that we brought out last year and put that in that special notes section on there. And don't forget to consult your little yellow CACFP grain serving sizes chart. Was that in this packet this time? I'm trying to remember if that was in this packet this time. You should already have a copy of it. Everyone's got a copy of it. It's got the group A, B, C, and D. The main reason we need to be consulting this when we're serving our grains is that not all grains are created equal. Like muffins, for example, it takes 2 ounces of muffin to equal an ounce equivalent. So that would mean for your school agers, even though the meal pattern says they only need an ounce at breakfast, they actually need 2 ounces of muffin or 2.5 ounces of French toast. So make sure you're consulting that when you're serving your grains. The main ones that you run into that problem with are really your muffins, your quick breads, and your French toast. The rest of the stuff lined up pretty good. Pancakes and waffles are just a touch off, but nothing crazy like the other ones. Catering. Those of you that use a caterer, don't forget the amount of milk delivered each day must be documented on that delivery slip. If you, let's say your caterer only brings milk every other day, you still need to document how much is served that day. If you do not have that on there, you can lose that meal, and that doesn't fall back on your caterer because he's bringing the milk, he or she marked it the day before how much they brought, but you need to actually be putting on there how much is being served around, so you could lose that meal. Delivery slips must specify the sugar content for cereals. You must have the CN label information listed, the fat content of the ground beef, homemade grains need the weight, just like regular menu production records. If you have any questions on your catering slips that you're getting from your caterer, if you have any concerns about them, feel free to reach out to us. Or obviously we'll reach out to you, and we have all the caterers' numbers. We're in contact with them sometimes, and we can reach out to them if we notice any concerns. All right, does anyone have any questions at all? Next up, we have Miss Carrie.
All right, I am going to go over mid-month and end-of-month packets. Be sure to include your menus, your catering slips, your X sheets, infant menus, sign in and outs, EOPs and receipts. The end of the month packets need to be in by the 6th. If we do not receive them by the 6th, there is a chance that your payment will be late. And if you do not send in a mid-month packet and you only do an end-of-month packet, the packet has to be complete because we cannot hunt everybody down at the end of the month and try to get all the paperwork in that we need at that point in time. We do have a drop box right outside the office for you to drop anything. We check it twice a day. Every day we are here. Receipts. Send in every food receipt, even if it's small. If you purchase just 2 gallons of milk, send it in to us. Make sure all receipts show the store names, the names of the items purchased, prices, a date, and a total. If we do not have each of those things on the receipt, it cannot be counted. Don't send in receipts for gas, lawn care, printer ink, post office stuff, anything like that. Anything that is not directly related to feeding your children, don't send it in to us. If you have receipts for personal items, you can put a line through them as long as you leave the dollar amount visible. We go through every single receipt and read every item that is on there. So if you forget to cross something out, we can always do that. Send in receipts for your infant food and formula. Those all count towards your receipt totals. And bundle receipts together in your packet. Make sure there's no, we've seen a lot of IEFs mixed in with the receipts. And when that happens, when we get receipts at the end of the month, we just set them aside so that we can continue processing claims. We don't, pick through them to see what's all in there. We do that at the end of the month. So if you have an IEF that's mixed in, there's a chance that that child will not be claimed. Do not send in duplicate receipts. If you do that on occasion, it's okay. We'll catch it. We have a receipt journal that shows everything, but just try not to. Make sure the copies are clear. We get a lot of receipts that look like this photo down at the bottom, and when they look like that, we can't enter them. And if you send in receipts that are multiple pages, like a Sam's receipt or a Walmart receipt, put the pages in order so that we can see the items that are purchased, the prices of the items, a date, and a subtotal. We have a lot that gets sent in with just the first page and then the last page. And again, we can't enter that because we don't know what was purchased. We must be able to see what every receipt says. If items are labeled weird on a receipt, write down next to that item what it is so that we can document it correctly. Sometimes ground beef is labeled weird. Some breads are labeled weird. So just specify what the item is. Normally we can look up, the SKU or the, code and see what the item is. But just to make life a little easier, if you could just document it so we can quickly enter it. Labor sheets are extremely important. They help with receipt totals to equal what your reimbursement is. You can have labor sheets for your director, your assistant, the cook, anybody who does the grocery shopping or anything food program related. Oh, sorry. Make sure at the bottom of the labor sheet that there is a total. It takes too long to add up everybody's labor sheet for 60 plus centers. It's overwhelming, and it's just easier if you guys just put the total down there and also the pay rate of the employee that you're filling it out for. Sign in and outs. Make sure sign in and outs are getting filled out completely. We compare this information to meals marked before we go out on reviews. There's also a parent signature section. We want these times verified by someone. We understand that some kids are transported by the center to and from home, so it's not always easy getting a parent's signature at the end of the week. But someone can verify. It can be the director, it can be a teacher. We just want to make sure that the information is accurate. Let us know when there's a change in director, a change in the cook, email addresses, phone numbers. If any of that changes, let us know so that we can come out and train. If there's a change in a meal time and we come out at that time expecting to see a meal being served, we need to know what the meal times are so we can be there at an accurate time. Don't forget to send in new license or Title 20 agreements. Any questions about that? And also, if you are sending in anything by fax, please send your rep or your field monitor an email just verifying that you sent us a fax so that we can send you a message back saying that we did receive that item. All right, next up is Lacey.
All right, and we just found out where the questions were coming into. Sorry that we had so many in there. Janet is working tirelessly to get all of those answered better. We were expecting them in the chat box. There's apparently a separate question area. We missed that. We're still new to this whole webinar business. So hopefully we get those taken care of. And if, yeah, you can also ask questions in the chat box. That'll come directly into the computer that we're working at, but Janet's working on entering the ones that were put in the question box right now. Okay, infant meal pattern. It's the same as it has been. Birth to 5 months should be getting a minimum of 4 ounces of formula at all meals. 6 to 11 months need a minimum of 6 ounces of formula at breakfast and lunch, and at least 2 ounces at snack. Make sure those minimums are being met for formula. We're still seeing 7-month-olds that are only being offered 5 ounces. If the minimum isn't met, you don't get paid for that meal. You know, you're spending the money and time preparing these meals. You should get the reward. And as a reminder, breast milk never has a minimum. Mom makes what mom needs to make. At breakfast and lunch for your babies, once it's developmentally appropriate that they're eating foods, we should be seeing either infant cereal, so rice or oatmeal mixed, one of those, or a meat alternate at breakfast and lunch. Grains are only allowed at snack times. I cannot stress that enough. Grains are only allowed at snack time. I know it looks a little confusing because you're like, well, baby cereal, isn't that a grain? Well, it's iron fortified baby cereal. So they kind of look at it more as that meat alternate. So that's why we want that sort of like protein, if you will, at breakfast and lunch, really the iron for development. And then snack is okay to have that grain. And we'd like to see fruits and veggies throughout the day. Now, obviously, you don't have to overload a baby. You don't have to feed like a full cup of baby food of a fruit at breakfast. You can do smaller portions throughout the day just so you can get that spread throughout. Okay, so let's look at some examples of menus. Monday and Tuesday are good. We've hit the minimum. In this example, this baby's over 6 months old. We've hit that minimum for breakfast. We've documented the formula properly. We've got our infant cereal and we've got a fruit and veggie. Everything's labeled, looking fantastic. Same thing with lunch. We followed meal pattern. We've got that meat alternate at lunch and fruits and veggies combined with that. And then at PM snack, we've got that grain in there because that has to be a grain. That doesn't say meat alternate there. That doesn't say anything else. That's got to be that grain at PM snack. So Monday and Tuesday, we did fantastic. Wednesday, we didn't serve a infant cereal or meat alternate. So we've got a hole there. Why didn't you serve that? Did you just choose not to follow meal pattern? And that, you know, that would be a meal that you would lose. Same thing with lunch. Considering you served rice cereal and a fruit or a vegetable on Monday and Tuesday, we're expecting to see that on Wednesday. So you would lose Wednesday's lunch. Same thing with PM snack. On breakfast on Thursday, we've got the rice cereal, but we didn't put in a fruit or a veggie. So you're going to lose that. Same thing with lunch and PM snack. We're not staying consistent. We've got these holes. Obviously, if a baby's not present, that's not considered a hole, but every day that they're there, their meal should stay consistent. On Friday, we had a bad day. We did not serve enough formula. We did not label that it was formula. We serve sausage. Don't serve sausage. Sausage is not creditable for your babies. Sausage, hot dogs, fish sticks, any of those processed things are not creditable. And then we serve Cheerios on top of that. Oops. Went a page back, sorry. There we go. Cheerios are not creditable there. A meat would be, but not the sausage, obviously, because it's processed. And no vanilla pudding, none of the grain-based desserts. Same thing at lunch. We didn't label that it was formula. We didn't serve enough. PM snack, we did yogurt, which, like I said, that needs to be that grain. And instead of giving them bottle, we just gave them water. So no, no, no. Now, your infant formula selection part of your infant doc. This is so important to fill out. You should have gotten, no, I don't think you guys got one in your packet this time. You got one last year in your packet, but you guys all have them on file there. You want to make sure to write in the formula that the center is providing, and you want to make sure mom accepts or declines the center formula. Or if she's providing breast milk, circle that. Now, B, this is the one where things get tricky. Once my child is ready for solid foods, I accept or decline the center solid foods. If you have a baby that's not eating yet, you can put a non-applicable on there. I'm okay with that, but you have to put something. And if you have a 6-week-old baby, you want to make sure that they don't circle decline, because they're, as far as, because the baby's not eating yet. Because if that's a breastfed baby and they circle decline because the baby's not eating yet, you will not get paid for any of their meals. So if the baby's not eating yet, just put a little non-applicable next to it, and we will address that later once baby starts eating. Okay. Little Henry Drew's there starts at your daycare, and his lazy mother didn't want to fill out this form. So she just puts today's date at the top and draws a little line down each column. I'm Henry Drew's mom, so I can call her lazy. Previously, we've said okay to this, that's fine, not even a big deal. NDE says no, we cannot do this. It needs to be specific. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a living document. It needs to be in your infant room with full access to the child's parent and the staff in the room. As new foods are tried, they need a date. It just has to be the month and the year, and what meals that food can be served at. This needs to be specific. On the right-hand side, you'll see cereal. You'll need to write in the types of cereal you offer to your infants for mom or dad to approve. When we come in for reviews, we check this form. I'm sure many of you remember me coming in for reviews and looking at this and saying like, oh, you serve chicken, but I don't see chicken approved on your infant solid food form. Mom needs to update this. And it takes a while for us to go through your infant menus and compare these to them. So make sure parents are staying on top of this. This isn't something you'll necessarily lose meals over, but it is something that's a follow-up to your review and very important that you complete. Okay. Previously, there has been a fairly open time frame for completing infant menus. NDE is wanting infant menus completed during meal prep. We talked about this last year. Just like the kitchen records, they should be completed when the food is being completed. Make a bottle, write it down. Prepare a jar of baby food, write it down. We want these records to be as accurate as possible, and infant rooms can get very chaotic, so we need this information documented right away. Speaking of chaos, but my classroom looks like this. What do I do? Every baby is hungry and tired, and you expect me to take my dear sweet time, writing everything down before taking care of my babies? Of course not. Kiddos always come first, but that doesn't mean the documentation can't be completed on time. 2 tips. First, we strongly encourage you to keep your infant menus near your daily sheets. You're writing the feedings and changing on that daily sheet. It's easy to just document on one and then document on the next if they're nearby, instead of menus being kept in a binder in the closet or a shelf where they can be easily forgotten, or in the director's office. Those should be in the infant room where everyone has access to them as far as staff is concerned. Second, this is a great opportunity for teamwork. Someone can prepare bottles and food while someone with one on the hip and a free hand documents on the sheet. We're definitely going to be checking on this when we come out for reviews, as will NDE, if you are one of the lucky centers that gets audited. Baby room staff are notoriously great multitaskers, so I know that you guys can do a great job of staying on top of this. Don't forget to send in receipts for formula and baby food. This, of course, helps your receipt totals, and it shows us that you're purchasing items regularly. Parents can provide one component, but if a parent is providing both the formula and the food, you can't claim them. Seeing these on the receipts helps us keep track of that. Also, these receipts help go towards your nonprofit status. And then if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box or the question thing, because Janet is busy checking that away. And and she'll keep a close eye on that and answer those, or, you know, I can see any of them that are in the actual chat box. Okay, and then civil rights. I won't make you guys sit through this training right now, but it's important that it's completed. Here's the link for the NDE training. Directors, your designated food program contact person at your center, and anyone that serves food needs to complete this. Your servers, which are probably just your classroom teachers on the most part, are considered your frontline staff. And they're the ones most likely to violate civil rights, and also the ones most likely to hear the complaint. That's why it's important that they complete it. The training explains discrimination and what steps to follow if a child or that child's parent feels that they have been discriminated against. This is a federal program, so we just want to make sure that everyone is treated equally. That includes people with disabilities and making sure their needs are being met with your food program. The main thing is you want to make sure that everyone is being treated fairly. Obviously, no one here is separating children by race or is serving different genders, different things. Those are blatant civil rights violations, and we know you guys are not doing those. You're kind of more likely to commit a quiet civil rights violation and have no idea you've done it. The two main quiet civil rights violations are discriminating against age and disability. I just got a phone call the other day, and it's definitely not the first time I've heard this. I've heard this many a time, that a center wanted to serve a meal to just one age group. That happens all the time. Yes, they want to serve it to just one age group. You can't do that. That doesn't work. It needs, especially like a lot of times they'll ask about preschoolers or school age that seem extra hungry during the day. Can I add an additional snack for them? Yes, you can, but you have to serve it to everyone. For example, let's say there's a school ager and a school ager has a 3-year-old brother. The school ager is talking about his yummy AM snack on the car ride home from daycare, and the 3-year-old's like, hey, I didn't get an extra snack. That's not fair. I'm hungry in the morning too. That's a civil rights violation right there. Infants, same thing, sort of. If you're purchasing food to serve a 2-year-old, you need to purchase foods to serve your infants. Now, I understand that there are certain formulas that are cost prohibitive, like your Nutrimogen and your ELIGIBILITY and your kind of more medically necessary formulas. But that's why you're required to offer formula for your infants, because you're offering foods to your 2-year-old. You are required to offer foods to your infant because you're offering them to your 2-year-old. Now they have the option to decline the formula. That is perfectly their option. You only have to offer one, and it can be the formula of your choice. The other one is disability, along the same lines. If there's a doctor's note saying that a child needs almond milk, you have to provide that. You purchase milk for one child, you have to purchase it for all children. Now, if mom chooses to want her child to drink soy milk, that's fine. You don't have to provide it. It's smart to provide it though, because parents aren't the best at remembering to bring us things, you know. You're bugging them for weeks for diapers, wipes, formula, spare clothes, everything. You're constantly bugging them to bring stuff back to you, and they don't. So what are you serving that child that's lactose intolerant, or that mom prefers soy milk for because maybe he has some tummy troubles? What are you serving him if mom forgets that soy milk at home? So that's why it's a good idea to keep that on hand, because you're getting reimbursement for it either way. That's going towards your reimbursement. Okay, KidKare. KidKare is now available for our centers to use. This is the program that our homes currently use. There is no download required, which means that you can use this on your desktop, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever. CX doesn't work on Apple products. KidKare does. Some of you of our newer centers that started this last year, I started you directly on KidKare. So when we say things like CX, you have no idea what we were talking about. So you guys, this is maybe just a nice little refresher course on it for you guys. But you guys that are using CX still, KidKare is awesome. I'm assuming at some point they're going to kind of get rid of CX and just go straight to KidKare. So it's a nice thing to learn at some point. That'll probably be years down the road, but it's a good thing to learn. And sites can use both CX and KidKare interchangeably until you feel comfortable switching to KidKare, if you ever feel comfortable. It's easy to use, and it's super easy to use, and all of your current data is on there. And you just use the same login and password that you use for CX on there. Now, here's a quick little tutorial on how to do stuff on there. Entering kids. Once you're logged in, select kids. And to the right, you'll see add manually. You'll want to click that. And then you just put in the child's information, just as if you were doing it in CX. It's a little different. I think it's 2 or 3 screens that you need to go through, but you just put that in. And this, you can actually add a child's photo on there, which is handy. Next, menus. You would go to food program, daily menu, and instead of on CX where you have to log in and you can only click breakfast and enter breakfast foods, you can only click lunch and enter lunch foods. This will show you for that full day. And the other thing that I love about KidKare opposed to CX is I don't have to hunt through that food picker. I can go right here into this bar, and I can start typing in the food that I want, and they'll pop up. And here you can switch from the non-infants to the infants pretty easily and put it in for the full day when you're putting in that dummy infant menu. For attendance, this is where you might prefer CX. You will click food program and attendance. You want to make sure your day is right and your meal is right. Next, you will check this little box in the corner to show that that child attended during the day. And then you click the little knife and fork. You'll probably just have one come up unless you serve multiple shifts. That's when you would have that 1 and 2. It is nice because it'll give you a count right there of how many kids you've marked for lunch, which is super handy, but it's a lot more clicking. It's a lot more clicking. It's clearer and easier to read, so you're never going to jump down a line like you do on CX, but it feels like it might take a touch longer. Another wonderful thing about KidKare is it comes in both English and Spanish. You would just go to the settings tab right here, the little gears, and you can change it to Spanish. And the whole thing will be in Spanish, but the things that print out will still print out in English. But when you're entering the foods in KidKare, instead of milk, you'll click leche, that sort of thing. And all of it is in Spanish, and it's just a lot easier. Okay, and if you want to put in the chat box, if you guys are seeing the answers, can you guys, yeah, we're not sure if you guys are seeing the answers that Janet filled out. Does somebody want to type in the chat box and put if they saw the answers, if they got their answer answered, their question answered? Because maybe the chat is disabled, and you guys can't even see that. Janet's checking the questions again. And she's gonna let me know. Well, let's hope that your answers are being, or your questions are being answered. But okay, so then as soon as Janet's gonna start going over vendor contracts. And here she is.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. Didn't leave you for long. I apologize about the chats. It was only showing up on one computer. So that's why we're asking, because we're answering them. And I want to make sure that you guys are seeing the answers. So that's why we wanted to make sure that somebody said they could see the answers in the chat box. These technical difficulties, what would we do without them? So the next little thing on our agenda are vendor contracts. Not all of you use a vendor. So, you know, I know this isn't as important as some of the other, well, all of the other things to most of you, but it is to those that use them. They only apply to people that use a caterer or a food vendor. Actually, we're working on renewing those contracts as we speak. The deadline to get them back to Midwest was actually yesterday, and we do have a few centers that are I'm still waiting on. So if you could get those to us, that would be wonderful. Last year, we included a special addendum that requested the vendor add items to the delivery tickets, which I think they all have done and done a wonderful job, so that's not an issue. Any contract over the amount of $50,000 has to be pre-approved by Midwest before either the vendor or center can sign it. There's not a ton of you that have that, but there might be one or two. So just to make sure that you understand that, please don't sign the contract until after it's been approved by us. And if you have already sent one in that you've signed, I'll just send it back to you and you can re-sign it after it's been approved. Not the end of the world. This was just the addendum that was added last year. So everyone that has a caterer knows about this and the caterers know about it. So it's all good now. Contracts over $250,000 are required to get a competitive sealed bid. If this applies to you, we can go over more details included in the procurement and instructions for the CACFP food service contracts. I don't think anyone right now has that large of a contract, but if you do, I will let you know if you need to get a bid, competitive sealed bid. This is just what that instruction manual looks like. If you guys need it, please let me know and I'll send it to you. You should all have one at some time or another. New centers must complete what's called a small procurement form. This form is usually completed by the director and lists about 10 most commonly purchased items for the center. It's necessary because the USDA wants to ensure that the federal money is not supporting just one business. Say you have Uncle Bob that owns a grocery store and you're doing all of your shopping from your Uncle Bob. That's what they're trying to avoid. They want to make sure that it's getting spread throughout the community. It also eliminates the problem of supporting a family member's business only. Not to say that you can't use Uncle Bob for a couple things, but just not everything. This form is completed when the center initially joins the program and is part of the application process. And that's what this form looks like. The attachment A is that uses a caterer, completes a form called an attachment A. And this just gives 3 different vendors with the meal types and number of meals. And basically it's kind of like a bidding sheet. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go with the lowest bid, but it shows that you've looked at a variety of vendors. And you have to do this once every 5 years. So if you've already sent one in and wonder if it's time, don't worry, I'll let you know. So that's kind of making it on the easiest step I can. If you're a new center or a center that's thinking about getting a vendor, this is what you need to do before you actually sign on with your vendor. You need to contact a couple of other vending companies and get bids from them. Just a loose bid. It can even be over the internet. It's fine. And this is what that attachment A form looks like. So if there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box and we will answer those. Hopefully you'll see them. So I guess that's really all I have for you. I'm going to throw it back to Lacey, and she's going to go over the next section, which I think you guys are really going to enjoy. It's how is your center losing money? And there's so many different ways that you guys could increase the reimbursement from us. And, you know, we want you guys to get the most money that you can. So Lacey's going to go ahead and explain how that goes.
Okay, real fast. So apparently we're still having problems with that question thing, and you guys cannot see the answers to these questions. We're trying to get that figured out. Worst case scenario, you will all get emails and we will answer questions that way. I don't know why it's not showing questions on our end over here and why you're not able to respond to them. Janet's still trying to work on getting that fixed. So hopefully we can get all of your questions answered during the webinar. Hopefully it's fixed by then. Otherwise, like I said, we will send you guys all emails answering your questions. Okay. This is about your center losing money. In the month of May, not counting overclaim, which is when you serve more than 2 meals and 1 snack, not factoring that in, of the 59 centers that had a claim in May, you guys collectively lost approximately $12,524. Some of you contributed very, very little to this, and some of you contributed a lot of that. Oh, I think we got the questions fixed. So, oh, look, I can see it in my chat. Okay, they've all just appeared for some reason. Let me get through this slide and then I will start answering questions. Or this little section and then I'll start answering questions. But okay, yeah, some of you guys contributed a little bit to that. Some of you guys contributed a lot. Money is still pretty tight for everyone right now, and our goal is to make sure you are getting your maximum refund each month so you aren't tossing perfectly good money right down the toilet. There we go. Part of ensuring that is making sure your frontline staff know what their duties are. I kind of mentioned frontline staff earlier in relation to your civil rights. And these people know what their duties are as far as the food program is concerned, how to do them properly and why they're doing them. Your main frontline staff are your staff that you have doing your shopping. Do they know what's creditable and what's not? You might ask an employee to go pick up milk at the store and she comes back with 2%. It's not credible. What are you going to do? She needs to know what's creditable. The staff that prepare meals, including PM snack. I point that one out because you might have a designated cook that does breakfast and lunch, but then you might have the high school girl that's your closer that she preps snack because you're trying to get breaks done. She needs to know what to serve. She needs to know to fill out menu production records. She needs to know if there's a substitution and you're out on a van run, what to do in case I show up or Carrie shows up. The staff feeding babies. You guys as directors sit through your setup training and these annual trainings. Carrie and I call or email you when there are issues with infant menus, but does the staff in the actual infant room know how to fill this out, know what meal pattern is for babies, what's creditable? And definitely your classroom teachers who mark X's. Do they know why they have to and not just so you don't yell at them? Do they understand that if they forget to mark X's and Carrie and I come out to do a review, that the whole classroom just lost that meal? Do all of these people understand their role in this? Do they understand that these items directly affect your reimbursement? Okay, where does your reimbursement come from? It is paid per child per meal. If a child is determined to be free based on the information mom or dad have provided on their IEF, every time he eats breakfast and the staff marks an X on that X sheet, you get $1.89. If a child is determined paid based on that IEF, every time she eats lunch, the staff marks an X, you get 33 cents. For a full day of 2 meals and a snack, for a paid child, it's 73 cents for that whole day. That's how much you got paid for that breakfast, lunch, and PM snack for that full pay child. Now for a free child, it is $6.36. That is a big difference, right? One of the biggest way your center is losing money is through IEFs. Okay. You have 2 full-time children enroll on July 6th. They're full-time Monday through Friday. They're going to be present for breakfast, lunch, and PM. You have mom fill out the IEF. She qualifies by income, but she forgets to put the last 4 of her social security number. You receive an email from Joni or Nikki requesting this info, but you don't follow up. What happens? Okay, so you didn't follow up. They get put in the computer as paid incomplete. So from the 6th to the 30th, that's 19 days that you're open. Times the 2 kids, 73 cents a day, you get paid $27.74 for the entire month. Now, had you responded to that email and gave us the last 4 of the social security number, they could now be determined free. And so that's $6.36 a day, which equates to $241.68 a month that you got paid for that child, those 2 children. The difference of $213.94 just by responding to that email with the last 4 of the social security number. Now, what can you do with $213.94 in a month? Oh, you can buy 159 gallons of 1% milk, or you can buy 10 gallons of formula. That's a lot. That is a lot for just 2 kids. Now, this is July. I don't go out for a review until November. I bring your roster and we discuss paid incompletes like we do when I come out. So that's the 19 days of July. That's all of August. That's all of September. That's all of October. 83 days. You could have gotten $1,055.76 for those 2 kids, but instead, since they were still sitting there paid, you only got $121.18. That's a difference of $934.58 with you could have bought 324 loaves of wheat bread, 46 5-pound rolls of hamburger, or you could have bought 6,675 bananas or 78 boxes of 100-count cloves. That's a lot. Now, how do we prevent this? Before you send an IEF to us, look at it. If you see things missing when mom hands it to you, have her fix that right then and there so that we don't have to bug you and then you have to track her down again and then get back to us. Just easiest way to prevent losing all of this money. Now, incomplete forms. You send an IEF to us and you might get an email from either Joni or Nikki, like I said, requesting information. Please do not regard these emails. It's probably because the IEF looks like one of these. If information is missing, we have no option but to put the family in our system as incomplete and they receive the paid rate. On these forms, mom indicated SNAP but forgot to put in her master case number. There's income but missing the last 4 of their social security number. On this one, they've clearly put down their social security number instead of their master case number. That doesn't work. It needs to be that master case number. This one has no financial information listed at all. And this one, mom just put down her hourly wage. When we're trying to determine if somebody's free, reduced, or paid, we compute what their yearly income is. And we put that into a chart. Lacey Drew's here, makes apparently $12 an hour. I don't know how many hours she works. I don't know that. It could be 20, it could be 50. I can't determine her yearly income based on this information. If she only makes $12 an hour though, works full-time, obviously has at least one child, at minimum, she would qualify for the reduced rate. So let's do some more scenarios here. Okay, so this one we're going to talk about the importance of your menus. That's the other place that you guys lose money. This one's a little more difficult to compute. All of you have different capacity and different amounts of free, reduced, paid kids. The average daily attendance averaged across all you guys was 54 in April. The average percentage of free and reduced kids was 53, which would be 25 free, 4 reduced, 25 paid. Some of you centers have a average daily of attendance of 200. Some of your ADA is only 10. And obviously your FRPs are all over the place. Your highest is 99.32% free and reduced, and your lowest is 3.03. Nonprofit centers, like those associated with churches, don't have to hit that 25% minimum, so that's why they can still claim so low. So I just did an average center. So about 54 kids a day, about half their kids free and reduced. You forget to document sugar info for breakfast at lunch in that situation, you just lost $47 because you lose for that whole meal. How many times did you serve cereal that month? Was it just once? No, you've probably served cereal once or twice a week. So that's, in this situation with this daily attendance, this amount of children claimed in this FRP, that's, $47 a pop. Same thing when you're forgetting to document a quantity at lunch, or if you forget to document your CN label information at lunch. All of those things will make you lose a meal. And lunch is more expensive, as we saw in that previous slide. You get paid a lot more for lunches. You're going to lose a lot more money. So that's why it really falls on you as directors to really check and double check records before they hit our desk to make sure that this isn't happening. That's the easiest way to prevent that, besides making sure your cook knows the importance of writing everything down. You should see 2 quantities at breakfast and 2 milks. That's kind of how I count them when I'm looking through your paperwork. At breakfast, I go 1, 2, 2 milks. At lunch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 milks. I go along and make sure those are there. You as directors, make sure that those are getting done. Go back through and verify that sugars and CN labels are documented. Keep a cheat sheet in the kitchen so you aren't having to look at boxes and dig packages out of the trash. Make sure those look perfect before they hit mine or Carrie's desk. If you as the director don't have the time to do it, or if you're the one cooking, have someone else verify it, that everything is there. An assistant director, one of your lead teachers, anybody, so that you guys aren't collectively losing $12,000 in a month. Don't be this gal. And here's Janet to talk about what happens when you make all those mistakes.
Thanks, you guys. I'm glad we got the chat figured out. If anybody has any questions from the previous, Lacey can address those now. So if you want to put those in your chat box, she will address those real quick before I start rambling on about the seriously deficient. So she's looking them up right now. I think maybe
I don't see any. I don't see any recent ones.
She doesn't see anything recent
that hasn't been answered.
Right.
Because it looks like Carrie is busy answering these away. But no, it looks like there's no questions on that section.
Okay. Thank you, Lacey. I love her passion. It's wonderful. I hope you guys enjoy it too. So, seriously deficient. Ugh, it's just two words I never want to talk about, never want to hear, but it does happen. But do you guys understand what it means? Probably not. And that's why I'm going to go over in a very short version what it is and what it means. So every center that participates on the food program needs to adhere to the federal regulations set forth by the USDA. And it's our responsibility to monitor your center to make sure that these regulations are met, which is why we nag you guys so much. But what seriously deficient is, and these are the technical terms, these are what it's defined as, is submission of false information on the agreement. So that would be anything that was falsely written when you signed up with Midwest. The submission of false claims for reimbursement. For instance, if you were claiming children that were not actually in attendance in your child care center, that's why it's so important that somebody's double checking from the paper records to the records that you're putting into the computer. Not that you are falsely doing it, but it just doesn't look good when we see it and there's no explanation for it. So that's why it's super important that that's double checked. Simultaneous participation claiming under more than one sponsor. This would be if you were with us and with the Nebraska Department of Education as well. Non-compliance with the program meal pattern. This is obviously something that most centers do, not willingly necessarily, but if it, and we of course would not declare you seriously deficient when it's our responsibility to train you and to guide you, that we will always do. So this would be something that where you were actually very knowingly feeding foods that were not credible to the kids, and you realized it but wrote something different on your menu. Failure to keep required meals in attendance. This is also a huge one. This is why it's so important that you're taking your point of service when the kids are eating in their little chairs at the time of the meal. That's why it's so important that those menu production records are recorded at the time of the meal service. Because if we see this with severity enough, it could lead a center to be put in seriously deficient. Conduct or conditions which threaten the health or safety of the children. I think that one's self-explanatory. Determination that the center has been convicted of any activity that occurred during the past 7 years and indicated a lack of business integrity. And that includes fraud, antitrust violations, embezzlement, theft, forgery, bribery, falsification or destruction of records, making false statements, receiving stolen property, making false claims, obstruction of justice, or any other activity indicating a lack of business integrity as defined by the state agency, or the concealment of such a conviction. And our state agency is the Nebraska Department of Education, just to clarify that for anybody. Failure to participate in training. Well, we all know that everybody on here is doing that, so thank you. And then there's kind of this broad spectrum that says any other circumstance related to non-performance under the sponsoring organization center agreement as specified by us or the state agency. So what happens if you actually fall into a seriously deficient? Well, first of all, you would receive a very lengthy letter from myself stating what the seriously deficient was, and you do have the opportunity for corrective action. Typically, what we like to do is to correct it before you guys get to seriously deficient, because we really don't want to have to do that. It's really a last-ditch attempt in trying to correct the seriously deficient problem. So if you get a corrective action list from us, just remember that that is a forewarning. And that could mean that if you don't, if that problem, whatever it is, continues to happen, that it could lead to a seriously deficient determination. And what happens when you're seriously deficient if you don't follow all of the corrective actions set up by yourself, because part of it is what you're going to do to correct the seriously deficient, is that you could be terminated from the food program for a period of 7 years. If we find that you owe us money and you don't pay the money back as part of your corrective action, then you are put on a permanent list where you would not be able to participate on the food program as a necessary person forever. And you would not be able to go to any other center. You would not be able to have a home where you could participate on the food program. So it really does impact a lot of things. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that for all of you, because I wanted to stress how important it is and why we nag you so much about following all the rules. Because if we aren't making you follow the rules, we actually can be declared seriously deficient by the state of Nebraska, and nobody wants that, especially me. So, you know, you guys are wonderful, and for the most part, you're doing a great job, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand what this means. So that's a little bit about that. And if anybody has questions about that, please put that in the chat box as well, and we'll get those answered too. So that's that. And so basically, we are finishing just about an hour early, which is so nice. So I wanted to, well, I'm throwing money at you for one thing, which is wonderful, but I just wanted to, in closing, thank each and every one of you for being a part of Midwest. We really do value you guys, and we know the important work that you're doing for the families and kids that you serve, and we're proud to be a part of that as well. We strive very, very hard to provide you with the best customer service that we can. Just remember that we're always here. I get so much nice feedback from you, and especially during the pandemic, you guys just were kind of floating out there on a little island by yourselves, and we knew that. So we really wanted to be as informational as we can. I know I do send a lot of emails, but I really try not to send you emails unless they're important. So, you know, kind of try to always remember that those are sent to you for a reason. We also offer free trainings and webinars that you can access anytime on our website. And you guys, I don't know how many of you use our website, but please take a look at it. We offer not only our training calendar there, but we also have a ton of information. And you can access that by going to www.midwestchildcare.org. And if you want to sign up for a class, you just go to our training calendar page. Right now, they're all in the form of a webinar. So you can just click on the webinar link and sign up that way, and you can just view it at when the webinar comes on. They're not as you want to, they are timed, because that's the only way you'll get a credit from licensing. So they're approved for licensing, and we want you to check that out. We also have a Facebook page at Midwest Child Care Association on Facebook that you can check out. If you haven't already done so, please give us a like. We put a lot of information on the Facebook too. The other thing I wanted to let you know before I let you get back to your busy lives is that starting July 1st, you will be seeing both Lacey and Carrie in person, and we're so excited to get back out there. We miss you guys, we miss your kids, we miss everything. So you are always, you know, utmost with us. You're so important. So I just wanted to let you know that you'll be seeing them. They're excited to get out, so trust me on that. So the next thing I wanted to let you know is certificates in order to receive your certificate for this training. And to be honest with you guys, this is not a licensing approved webinar. So there's no licensing credit for it. Now, whether or not your particular caseworker would accept it is up to them, but I'm just going to alert you right now, it has not been pre-approved for licensing. So you really need to, and you really need to just have one certificate for your center. If you could put in the chat box the name of your center, that way we'll know who exactly gets the certificate. There is a quiz attached that we would love for you to fill out and email back to myself, jherzog@midwestchildcare.org. That would be per person. And because it goes to your email address or whoever's email was on this particular webinar. And we'll get those certificates out as soon as we can. There is not a pass-fail to the quiz. We just kind of are using it for training purposes. We want to see where a lot of you have, maybe you're not getting an answer right, so we know, okay, well, we need to train more in this area. So I don't want you to get all flustered about passing or failing. I know you're all going to get an A+ anyway. So without further ado, I believe that's all we have. Like, again, I so appreciate you all being a part of us. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. We will try to have this, hopefully, fingers crossed, as a recording. So if you missed part of it or maybe someone else wants to view it, we'll hopefully have this up on our website, or we can send it to you through an email. If it doesn't record, we'll have to go to plan B. I'm not sure what that is right now, but we'll figure it out. So anyway, I will let you all get back to business. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we will get back to your chats too. So in fact, Carrie is busily answering those as we speak. So without any other questions, I will end the webinar. And if you have a question that didn't get answered, please feel free to email either Carrie or Lacey. And I'm sure you all have their email address. If you don't, email me. So, and if you can't find that attachment for the quiz, it's at the bottom of your chat box. There should be, yes, there's a handout. And you just have to click on that and you can open it up that way. So I'll wait a few minutes before I actually shut the webinar down so that as many of you as possible can go and get that handout. But I will, for right now, just sign off as far as talking, and then you guys can finish up and put any other chats in there and just sign off as you need to. So thank you and have a great day. I appreciate each and every one of you again. Thanks.
And anyone that can't see the answers, that handout, we're going to go ahead and email that to you too. Right above your chat box, there's a little caret that says handouts. Go ahead and click on that and that'll have that in there. But if you guys can't find that, we can go ahead and email that to you too.